What's up, Vault Hunters? I'm SchviftyFive, and this is Ultimate Vault Hunters. We've had Moxies, Moes, we've had Triple G's, Flak. What we have not had in some time, however, is a visit with everyone's favorite drunken Irish assassin. Who better to bring back Zane into the spotlight than ThiccFilA, who returns to Ultimate Vault Hunters for a new look into Zane's new skill tree. The MNTIS shoulder cannon sounds like a promising new addition into the game, but will Zane's tree back it up? We're going to dive deep into Thick's new build, the MNTIS Mercenary, and find out. As always, thank you so much for tuning in and joining the conversation. Whether you're joining us on Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter, or listening along on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or Spotify, we thank you for tuning in and listening to the program. If you're enjoying our conversations, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe to your favorite social media channel. ThiccFilA, welcome back. How you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going? I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
It's so good to see you. How are you enjoying Arms Race?
I'm actually really enjoying it, especially with a couple friends of mine. It's really fun to play with friends.
Completely different than what we're used to here on UVH. We're pretty build focused here, so I'm sure it's an exciting time. Something completely different than what we usually do.
Yeah, completely different. Like, you know, today we're going over builds, but tomorrow when I play Arms Race and get a brand new, just random experience without any build.
That's awesome. I can't wait to dive back into it. It's really exciting for me to play. It's just so fresh and new and interesting. It's just a completely different thing than what we're used to. So
for sure.
But today we have a MNTIS build.
Yeah, we do. And it's a good one.
You're calling it the MNTIS Mercenary build, and let's dive right in.
The MNTIS Mercenary. All right, let's hop into it.
How did you determine which points you wanted to take into this tree?
Now, with this tree, you know, I decided to go fully into like all the new skills of the purple tree.
Okay.
Now, they're all really strong. Now, obviously, how I decided that was, you know, it's a brand new skill tree. I wanted to spend as many points into the purple tree as I could while still having like, you know, a usable build, because we got to spend points everywhere. We have how many points now? 63?
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. But
cool.
It's really heavy purple focused.
Fantastic. So each tree has an overarching theme, be it action, skill, damage, or utility. What does the purple skill tree focus on?
Well, the purple skill tree is actually quite interesting. It does have a accuracy and crit theme behind it. Like you could totally make a sniping build just out of the purple tree, but at the same time, it's kind of very similar to just a run and gun tree, kind of like Zane's blue skill tree already, his kill skill tree. There are some kill skills in this tree, but as you get further down, it's more to do with like accuracy and crit damage. And there's also just some good utility, like the cannon itself giving you access to action skill and anointments, and the cannon having an augment on it that debuffs enemies as well. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, there's actually, it's a mix of like a sniping versus a run and gun tree.
Wow. Okay. I'll be interested to see how this works. Why should a player invest points in the purple tree over other existing trees?
Because it's brand new. It came with DLC 5, and it's actually awesome. It's, I think a lot of people are going to say that Zane probably got the best purple skill tree out of all the Vault Hunters.
Oh, really? This is my first dive into the skill tree. I haven't even taken a look at it yet, so I'll be really excited to see what you do with it.
No, yeah, that's what I think. So you should definitely be using the purple tree for Zane if you have it.
Cool. So why should a player take the new action skill MNTIS over other skills?
Okay, now that is pretty simple, and it's called action skill and anointments. You know, we already have action skill active on Zane. We have the barrier, the clone, the drone. They last for a long time. A lot of Zane players and myself used to blow up our clones with one of the clone augments called Doppelbanger. You can actually blow up your clone to get access to action skill and anointments.
Okay.
But this is a lot easier. You get 3 charges on your MNTIS cannon, and with one of the augments we're using, you get 2 extra charges. So that's 5 charges on the MNTIS cannon. That is 5 like action skill and anointment activations, and they have super short cooldowns. So like you're gonna be you get to spam your cannon all the time.
Oh, cool. How does MNTIS work in practical gameplay?
In practical gameplay, like this build isn't too focused on the crit damage, but you can build the Mantis to do very good damage when it hits crits. Like you can one tap mobs in the takedowns with the Mantis, like actually, but that's in a build fully centered around it. Our build is not centered around that. So in just typical gameplay, you're just going to be using it to debuff enemies. You can also drag them in, which is very cool and very fun because you like grab them and pull them towards you and then hit them in the face with a Hellwalker. And it's just fun. But mainly it's just the utility and the action skill end.
Okay, so we're not focusing on crits for this build.
No.
But it can achieve critical hits.
Yeah, of course. Just shoot things in the face.
Nice. Okay, great. Of the existing skill trees, which other tree does the new one synergize best with?
I actually think there's some pretty good synergies with the blue and the red tree. Probably the blue tree the most if you are the running gun type of player. The thing about Zane's red tree is it's his clone tree. So that's if you like using the digiclone. A lot of people's complaints about the clone is that they say, oh, I want to do the damage. I don't want my clone to do the damage. So that's where the blue tree comes in. But it actually has some really good synergy with the clone tree as well, if that's your thing.
Okay, and which of those will be featured in today's build?
The blue tree, because I wanted to have fun and I wanted to do the damage today.
Fair enough.
So yeah.
All right, awesome.
I think it's only fair that we go over the purple tree first because it's a brand new one.
All right, awesome. All right, let's get into it.
All right, so the first things first, we're going to equip our Mantis shoulder cannon. Zane equips his Mantis shoulder cannon, and you basically just fire charges. It's just like rack attack if you play flak, but it's a little faster and smoother. You can actually like shoot and reload your guns while you're shooting the cannon itself. The base version of it gets 3 charges, and then it has a pretty short cooldown, only 12 seconds.
Do you aim it?
Yeah. So it just aims right on your crosshair, and it's just like a laser bolt. It's like pretty. What's the word for it? Not like a projectile gun. It's like hit scan.
Oh, cool.
Pretty much hit scan. So the first skill, top right, Deja Vu. I went 5 out of 5 in this skill. This skill says whenever Zane kills an enemy with a critical hit, there's a chance for 1 ammo to be added to his magazine. Now, I chose this skill because I like using weapons like the Hellwalker or even snipers like the Skull Masher. And when I hit an enemy and one tap them with a Hellwalker, half the time my gun is just loaded again and ready to shoot again. It's not required for the skill tree, but I like the skill a lot.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Flak's Leave No Trace a little bit.
A little bit, but you actually have to kill an enemy. Next skill we're going to cover is the top left, Mana Focus. Now, I only stuck 2 points into this skill. Every time Zane activates his action skill, you get a little bit of accuracy and handling. Now, accuracy and handling doesn't sound so exciting, but it's actually really nice. Once again, I'll use the Hellwalker as an example. It has a pretty big spread on your screen. If you can tighten that spread, you can hit more pellets and do more damage. And it pretty much like guarantees that one shot like I'm talking about. And it really helps. Now, I only stuck 2 points into this because how much accuracy and handling do you really need? But it's definitely like you'll notice the difference with and without this skill.
Cool.
All right. So in the next row are actually 2 very important skills we're taking. The first one is on the left. It's called Headsman's Hand. This is a kill skill. Zane gets crit damage. Now, crit damage is something Zane never had before in any of his skill trees. So that basically means it's really strong because it's a new kind of damage rather than gun damage. And you definitely want this skill. Every time you get crits, it gives you a lot more damage. It's really worth it. That's all I can say. The next skill we're going to talk about is called Commitment. Now, this with the class mod we're using, which is obviously the See Undead class mod, this actually might be the most powerful skill in this entire skill tree. It's the second row, far right, kill skill. Zane gains increased gun damage and action skill cooldown rate. And now what the skill doesn't say is that it stacks and there is no limit to the amount of stacks you can get.
Really?
So you can stack the skill up to insane numbers. And with the See Undead class mod we're using and some of the guns, we're using a redistributor, which chains to enemies. So you can get this thing upwards of like 50 stacks, 80 stacks. The most I've ever gotten it to, I think was 100 something. which if you do the math, that's 30% gun, or well, I think the base of it is 20%, but with the C and on, it's 30% gun damage and 30% cooldown rate. Multiply that by 50, that's 1500% gun damage and cooldown rate, which is like 3 stack bots, 3 of like Amar's entire skill trees. That's a joke, by the way. But yeah, so with the C and class mod, this actually might be the most powerful skill in the skill tree.
That's awesome.
It's pretty bonkers. The next skill we took is the only, it's just a 1-pointer in the 3rd row. It's called Fugitive. Zane can sprint and shoot at the same time. This is just a really cool skill, and it also works with Violent Momentum, which is in the blue tree. But it's just a really nice skill to have. It's like Russian offensive on Moz.
Cool.
Next, we have the skill on the left, 4th row on the left, Domino Effect. Whenever Zane scores a critical hit, you get fire rate and reload speed. But if you score a crit with your action skill, which could either be your Mantis or your clone if you're using your clone as well, this effect doubles. So you get double the reload speed that the skill offers. Well, I should just say it. It's 20% reload speed and 15% fire rate. But if you get a crit with your action skill, it's 40% reload speed and 30% fire rate, which are some pretty big numbers. That's a lot of fire rate and reload speed. That's a lot of increased DPS. That's what we like to call it. And yeah, that's pretty much all that skill does. So next, moving on to the 5th row, the skill on the right, Eraser. Zane's critical hits pierce through enemies for all weapons, dealing increased damage for every enemy pierced, and it is 120% bonus damage per enemy pierced. So to build a visual picture for you, if you could line up 5 bandits and shoot one in the head with a sniper, it'll go through all of their heads and deal bonus damage for each head that it goes through.
That's cool.
So that was a nice visual I wanted to paint. And, with some editing software, we can get a Grave Ward clip in the background with a conference call. It's actually very cool what you can do with this skill. Also, Moxie will be putting out a Zane build. He figured out, shout out Moxie real quick. Everybody knows him. But this skill is actually very, very cool. It allows your critical shots to just pierce through enemies. And there's some pretty cool shenanigans you can do with this as well. It's just a really powerful skill. When I use it with the redistributor bullet, if it goes through an enemy head and hits another enemy, it chains like twice because it hits both enemies, right?
Yeah.
So it's just really cool and really powerful. It's kind of like Boar from Borderlands 2 as well.
Sweet. It's awesome.
And finally, the last skill point in the skill tree, the capstone, Our Man Flint. While aiming down sights, Zane gets bonus damage. And your weapons automatically apply their status effects when he scores a crit as well. Ooh. So first of all, this is 25% bonus damage. And this is very strong because it's a damage multiplier. It's basically just not gun damage. So in my opinion, you definitely want to take this skill on Zane because of how good it is. But also it has that second text that we're not using in this build. But I just want to point out how cool it is. Your guns will automatically apply their status effects when you hit a crit. So I haven't really messed around with this too much yet, but I actually want to make a build with the Executor class mod that gives you a bunch of increased status effect damage. And then also the other cool thing about this is if you aim down your sights and shoot any cryo weapon at an enemy, they insta-freeze. So it's just a pretty cool capstone. And I've been messing around with it a lot. And I think it's really interesting. And we're not using that second text so much in this build. We're mainly just using it for the bonus damage. But yeah, it's really cool and it's really strong.
Man, I can't wait to see what other cool things you come up with Zane in the future.
Yeah,
this is really awesome. But it sounds like you've already got a ton of ideas coming as well.
For sure.
All right, what's the next skill tree that we're going to go through? You said the blue tree next?
All right, so yeah, we might as well get into the blue tree.
Cool.
This is Zane's kill skill tree. Like I said at the beginning, you want to use the red tree if you want to buff up your clone and let him do the damage. But since it's a new skill tree, I wanted to shoot my own guns. So I went deep into the blue tree, getting in red, which is the capstone, but we'll get into that. The first skill we're going to talk about on the top right, the first row, Violent Momentum. Zane's gun damage is increased while moving. The quicker he moves, the greater the gun damage bonus. This skill is just really freaking powerful. It's kind of like Commitment, but this requires more investment. Like you have to full slide to get the full bonus out of this, but this can give you up to 1,000% gun damage if you're like full sliding though, full sliding.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it's pretty cool with that new skill in the purple tree where you can sprint and shoot. So you can get like a couple 100% of gun damage out of this skill.
Cool.
In the top left is violent speed. After killing an enemy, Zane gains movement speed, and this skill stacks twice. Now, if you like running around fast, you definitely want this skill, and it helps violent momentum's damage as well.
For sure.
So the next row is the left skill, Cool Hand, gain reload speed. Now, I spent 4 points into this, so it's 12% reload speed, and that stacks twice. Now, that sounds really similar to Domino Effect, which gives us 20% reload speed for scoring a crit. And you can see why Domino Effect was so powerful, because this is 12% at 1 stack, which is 24% at 2 stacks. And Domino Effect gives you 20%, which is almost 24%, and it has fire rate on that skill too. But yeah, a lot of rambling there. But yeah, reload speed, Cool Hand's a good skill. We can move on.
Okay.
Next skill in the second row on the right is Salvation. I just spent 1 point here because we are on Mayhem 10. We have guns dealing Mayhem 10 damage. You only need 1 point into lifesteal in endgame because every single shot is going to full heal you.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it says 3% lifesteal, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when every shot does 100K or 200K damage, that's 30K to 40K lifesteal, and that full heals us every time.
That's a good point. All right.
Next skill in the third row, Death Follows Close. All of Zane's kill skills gain increased effect and duration. This gives you 7 seconds onto your kill skills and a 25% bonus effectiveness onto your kill skills. And that 25% is very, very powerful. Zane's entire, this entire skill tree is kill skills. So this makes the entire tree 25% stronger, plus some new skills from the purple tree.
Wow.
All right.
Oh my God, there's so much.
Yeah.
So much synergy. This is amazing. All right, let's continue.
It's all kill skills and gun damage. It's great. Moving on to the fifth row, we have Violent Violence. This is bonus fire rate. Now, this is actually the biggest fire rate bonus on a skill in the game. I definitely recommend taking this, especially with a couple of the guns I'm going to recommend later. But I guess you don't need this skill if you're a sniper player, but I know everybody loves using SMGs too. So you definitely want 4 points at least into this skill. It's really, really good. And that's all I got to say about it. It's fire rate. Moving on is the skill on the right in the fifth tree, which is Playing Dirty. After killing an enemy, Zane's next 5 shots all have a chance to fire an additional projectile. Now, this skill is worded a little bit weird. Basically, you just have to trigger Playing Dirty. Once you trigger Playing Dirty, you are guaranteed 5 shots with bonus projectiles. Now, what a bonus projectile is you know how like the Maggie is like... Okay, I remember the level 50 damage, but at level 50, the Maggie did like 500 times 6, right?
Yeah.
So a bonus projectile means instead of 500 times 6, it's 500 times 7. So it's just a projectile. It's not like an extra shot. So this isn't as powerful on guns like the Maggie. Where this skill is really powerful is with snipers and launchers, or just single pellet weapons in general. Even like 2 or 3 pellets is okay. But this skill is very, very strong. It'll double your damage on a backburner, for example. And backburner is like probably the most powerful rocket launcher in the game, or a plague bearer. While we're mentioning
killer.
while we're mentioning good launchers. So I always like to spend a couple points into here. It really depends what weapons you use. Now, with the redistributor, which I recommend later, that's a single pellet, like really fast firing SMG, and you can get double. You can make it into a ×2 SMG, which is like insane.
Ooh, now does that count? Like with the Hellwalker or something, is that going to give you an extra projectile with that? Or
yeah, it will give you an extra projectile with the Hellwalker, but the Hellwalker is a ×10. It just turns it into a ×11.
Oh,
so it's only like a 10% damage increase, but it's still not bad.
All right, cool.
All right, moving on to maybe the most important skill in this skill tree is Good Misfortune. Now, obviously, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but this skill is very, very good with the See Undead class mod. Once again, it's a kill skill, which gives you more duration on your action skills every time you get a kill. Now, when you combo this with the See Undead, you're just constantly triggering Good Misfortune, which will give you infinite action skill uptime for our second action skill. Since the Mantis is like a quick action skill use, this is just going to give us infinite uptime for our barrier, which is our second action skill I'm using as the barrier.
Cool.
And then finally, the capstone of the blue tree, See in Red, activating an action skill automatically gives you all of your kill skills. Wow. Now, you might say, well, you're using the See Undead class mod, why use See in Red? Well, that's because the Mantis has 5 charges, and with tons of cooldown rate, you can just constantly spam your Mantis, which constantly triggers your kill skills, gives you more stacks of commitment, triggers playing dirty more often. And my favorite thing to do is just run around the map faster whenever I want. So, if there's no enemies near me, I need See in Red to activate my speed skills so I can get from point A to point B quicker, which is actually a big deal to me personally.
Yeah. I mean, mobility is super important in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a snowdrift junkie myself. So,
yeah,
but I don't have something like See in Red or, something help me move faster.
Yeah. For me, I activate See in Red, get my speed skills, and then I also snowdrift on top of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're zooming.
Yeah, we got to go fast.
Oh my God.
And that's it for the blue tree. So finally is the green tree. Now,
skipping the red tree altogether.
Yeah, we're not using the red tree. The red tree does have some like good skills in it for Zane, but I think it's mainly for the clone. Like it's really is heavily invested on the clone. So we just skip the red tree altogether.
All right.
So for the green tree, we just spent 10 points here, and that's just to get to the all-rounder, which is one of the barrier augments. The first 5 points are in Ready for Action, which is the top skill on the top right. Now, we kind of just picked this skill because the other 2 skills aren't as good, but this gives you increased shield recharge rate and shield recharge delay, 30% recharge rate and 29% recharge delay. And just the way endgame works out, the first skill, Adrenaline, we don't need that skill because we have so much cooldown from commitment, and the Guardian rank skill topped off. So I just picked Ready for Action. It's just better. That's the only reason I picked it.
All right.
And then finally, 5 points into Brain Freeze, which is the second row on the left. This lets you freeze enemies when you get critical hits. Now, this is really cool for crowd control. This is really, but mainly this is really cool because I wear the Icebreaker artifact when I'm mobbing, which gives me bonus damage against frozen enemies. And being able to just freeze an enemy on command by just critting them a couple times is really awesome. Now, one skill I do want to talk about that I left out is Confident Competence. It's the third row skill. I already know a ton of people are going to be like, why didn't you get Confident Competence? Well, we get our accuracy and our handling from the purple tree. So we don't really need Confident Competence because it gives accuracy. And then the gun damage really just isn't that important. We're getting literally like 1,000% gun damage from the other 2 trees combined, like Violent Momentum and Commitment, that the 35% gun damage right here, it's like adding a pellet onto the Hellwalker, like I said earlier. Like it's 35% gun damage when we already have 1,000.
Wow.
The other 2 trees. So I just didn't pick this skill. It's just not worth it, in my opinion.
What a crazy, awesome build. Okay, cool. So you mentioned you're using Barrier in lieu of Sentinel. Why is that?
So I decided to use the Barrier. Most people like it for the all-rounder because it gives you all-round protection. But the other main reason is because of the gun I'm using, the Redistributor. What the Redistributor does, every 7th shot is amped, and then amped shots chain to nearby enemies. So people read this and they just think that every 7th shot chains, but these are actually 2 different sentences. Any way that you can amp the Redistributor, it's going to chain. So Zane's Barrier gives you amp damage, and every single shot you shoot through the barrier chains to enemies.
Oh, wow, that's huge.
Yeah, so that's the main reason to use the barrier, in my opinion. Another reason is because it does give you all-around protection, somewhere like the Malawan takedown, or just somewhere really hectic like that.
Yeah.
The barrier is really handy. Now, one main reason we're actually not using the Sentinel is because of action skill and anointments. We get to use next to magazine bonus element of our choice. So most Zane players were locked to Sentinel Cryo on most of their guns, but now which is 100% bonus cryo damage.
Right.
But now I get to use 100% damage of any element I find. And, just from farming in this game, next to magazine anointment is way more common than Sentinel Cryo as well. So it's kind of nice to not be chained down to that anymore.
Awesome. Cool. That's really exciting. Okay, so what augments for your action skill do you take?
Okay, so let's actually just get the barrier out of the way. The one barrier augment we're using is All Rounder. Zane's barrier becomes a dome, which just when you pick it up, it covers you all around. Only like splash damage can get in on your feet, and occasionally enemies can shoot you, but it gives you really strong protection. It's just really strong. The other augment actually doesn't matter at all because both of the augments on the left don't work when you pick up your barrier. So it actually literally doesn't matter. We're just using the all-rounder.
Okay.
And then for the shoulder cannon, we're using some pretty cool augments. I like all the augments on the shoulder cannon. For this build, the first augment I went with is No Way Out. Whenever Zane damages an enemy with his shoulder cannon, that enemy is pulled towards you and they take increased damage for a short time. So it just grabs enemies and pulls them in, like literally. And they get a debuff damage applied to them, which is a really good damage bonus. Once again, it's 25%, which is the same as the capstone. So like that's a really good damage increase. And then also just grabbing like death spheres in the Malawan takedown and pulling them in, or the jetpack guys who always snipe at you and annoy you. You get to pull them right into you. And it's really cool. It's probably my favorite augment in the whole game on any action skill.
That's really cool. It's really cool to be able to use that and not like it's piss or something.
Yeah. The next augment for the Mantis Cannon I decided to use was Proliferation. This gives you 2 additional charges and you gain increased damage for your shoulder cannon based on the number of charges you have. Now, like I said, this isn't specifically a shoulder cannon damage build, so I don't care so much about the bonus damage for the charges, but just 5 full charges on your shoulder cannon and spamming them constantly. I'm really just trying to get as many commitment stacks as I can, and also just like debuff as many enemies as I can with it, and also get action skill end whenever I want. It's just the augment I chose. I would say no Way Out is the one you want to choose, and then you can kind of use whichever other one you prefer. The second augment's not required at all, but I like it.
Fantastic. Cool. Oh my God, I can't wait to see this in action. Okay. So what's the main rotation of this build?
So basically, like the main gameplay loop of this build, you just throw your barrier down, pick it up. That's what gets you started. And then start spamming your cannon until you run into enemies. Every time you spam your cannon, you'll activate See in Red, which activates Good Misfortune, which gives you more duration on your barrier. So spamming your cannon keeps your barrier active forever pretty much, which is really cool. And then you do need to shoot enemies as well to get more kill skills and more activations. And yeah, you pretty much throw your barrier down, pick it up, and then you go. And that's literally it.
Cool. And just zoom. Just go and zoom.
Literally kill everything after that.
Awesome. So what damage builds exist out there that could compare in numbers to this build?
This is by far, at least right now, I know the DLC's fresh. This is the strongest Zane build I have ever played with.
Really?
The cannon is literally so powerful, not the cannon itself, but the access to action skill and anointments and the capstone giving you that damage. And we have the crit skill and commitment. This new purple tree is probably Zane's best tree already. And like I said earlier, I think Zane got the best tree compared to all the other Vault Hunters. Damage builds, maybe something with Ties That Bind can definitely compete, or, come on, the other Vault Hunters can compete. But it's definitely the strongest Zane build I've ever played by far.
Cool. So while we have you here, how did this build fare overall with the True Guardian takedown?
It's literally a breeze. I don't know how else to say it. You can just shoot your redistributor into any Guardians, just a shock redistributor. The anointment doesn't even really matter, although I do recommend the next 2 magazine anointment. But the really cool thing is those bonus elements on your grenade and shield. Since we're not using any grenades in this build, the grenade doesn't matter at all. Just go to the vending machine and get any grenade with 50% bonus shock damage for the Guardian takedown because they're big shielded enemies. And then your favorite shield with any other bonus element on it. You literally get 100% bonus elemental damage from your grenade and shield just by using the shoulder cannon.
Wow. Okay. What about the crystal activation sections? How did it fare in there?
So for the crystal phases, normally I would actually recommend using the clone during the crystal phases because he can actually distract the guardians for you.
Okay.
But like seriously, you literally kill everything so fast that it just literally doesn't matter if you're using the optimal gear. Now, I do recommend using more optimal gear for guardian takedown because that is the tougher takedown. You do want at least decent gear for the guardian takedown. But if you have a redistributor with any damage anointment, or a reflux even is very, very strong with the next 2 magazines anointment. If you have shock or radiation, you're going to kill any guardians. Yeah, pretty easily.
Cool. So what about anathema?
Anathema, as long as you're good at platforming between the stages and you don't get caught in that bubble, no problem. Just bring a light show with you. That's from DLC 3. And if you don't have DLC 3, then just bring a corrosive backburner with you and just light her up.
Cool. What about Scourge the Invincible Martyr?
Okay, once again, if you can avoid dying to the diadems, which come out and explode, and you know how to do the immunity phases, it's the same deal. Light show, backburner. I actually think the light show might be the strongest single target weapon with this build. Just because it's just does so much damage, like seriously.
Oh. So what do you feel this build excels at the most?
I don't know. I've seriously been having fun with all kinds of guns. Like I talk about the redistributor and the light show, but I always have a skull masher and a hellwalker equipped as well because I like Jacob's weapons. I like sniping things. I like hellwalking things. I really enjoy using the hellwalker a lot. And every gun I've picked up, I even have used the Moonfire. I mentioned the conference call earlier, although that pretty much only works against really big bosses. Whatever you want. And then, yeah, once again, if you don't have the redistributor, you can use like the reflex. Pretty much any gun I've picked up, I can get to work.
It's like nice and good flex. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice flex, dude. How do you feel about the 5 points recently added to the game alongside Psycho Krieg and the Fantastic Fustercluck?
So actually the level cap we're at right now, I think is a perfect spot. It is 2.5 skill trees pretty much. You can get 2 capstones and then you can get like the 3rd tier capstone that most trees have. I think it's a really good spot. So I was really happy they added those 5 skill points. Because it's like 2.5 out of 4 trees. There's enough skill points where I can get a ton of skills, but there's not so many skill points where every build looks the exact same.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you felt that the build stood to benefit greatly from having these 5 points, but it sounds like yes.
I think with the 4th skill tree, definitely. When we only had 3 skill trees, it was like we can get most of the skills with the level we're at. But with 4 skill trees, I think it's in a good sweet spot.
I agree. If you potentially had 4 more points to add to your talent tree,
where would I put
where would they go?
Where would they go? Maybe into some more purple skills just because they're still fresh. I kind of like sheer will for more cooldown or maybe some more accuracy. I might also have to stick some into the red tree, like borrowed time or some mag size. There's a lot of places that 4 more skill points could go. I think it's just preference based on you because like the way this build works right now, it's very, very powerful. Maybe Cold Bore, actually. That was a recently buffed skill. It's the top row of the middle blue tree. Every time you swap your weapon, you get bonus cryo damage. It can actually give you up to 200% bonus cryo damage for 1 shot, which is pretty fun for sniping, which I like to do with the Skull Masher.
Cool. All right. So what weapons and gear will be utilized in this build?
All right, finally, the weapons and the gear.
Your
my favorite part. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, the number 1 weapon is definitely the redistributor with the next 2 magazine bonus, 100% elemental damage anointment. Any redistributor, I guess it depends where you're going. What's cool about this combo is since it's 100% bonus elemental damage is if you get unlucky, like let's say you want to go to Guardian Takedown, you obviously want like a shock redistributor. But if you get unlucky and you find a fire redistributor, if it has the next 2 magazine shock anointment, then you can actually use that because you're getting 100% bonus shock damage. And then same with like on your shield, you can use a shock 50% bonus shock damage on your shield. So that's 150% bonus shock damage. That's more than the gun card damage itself. Oh. So what's really cool is there's more flexibility because we get to use any element, any elemental anointment.
You're not just a cryo Zane anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Where can we get the redistributor? So
the redistributor comes from Wotan. He is in the Malawan takedown. And that actually segues us into, if you can't get a redistributor from Wotan, the next best gun to use is the Reflux, which is a Mayhem 6 exclusive from Genevieve. You have to farm her on Mayhem 6 or above. And then if you can't get that, you can get a Brainstormer, which is the base game. It's like the weak Reflux. But yeah, once again, any of those guns with the next 2 magazine anointment, honestly should get you through Malawan takedown easily. I would say you want specifically the redistributor or the Reflux for Guardian takedown. And definitely try to get next 2 mags shock, obviously, for the Guardian takedown. But any one of those guns with any next 2 magazines should get you through Malawan takedown, I think.
Awesome. So what anointment? You said the anointments that we should always aim for is the next 2 magazines?
Yeah, so for normal guns, next 2 magazines, but for any splash weapon, if you can get 200% bonus splash damage on action skill end, that's the other anointment you're looking for. And I would say those are the 2 best ones by far.
Awesome. So what gear, if anything, is considered essential?
I would say for this build, just the See Undead class mod, just because it gives you that synergy, like I said, with commitment, being able to get ridiculous amounts of stacks and just getting tons of gun damage and cooldown speed. But other than that, I've been, how you said it was a flex earlier, I've been using any guns I want. It doesn't even matter what shield or grenade you're using. We're not using grenades at all in this build, mainly just for the anointment. I would say finding those anointments on the parts you want are more important. Like the 50% bonus element on your grenade, 50% bonus element on your shield, next to magazine anointment, the splash anointment, and the See Undead class mod, which, by the way, I should say real quick, the Purple Tree made it so you don't have to use the See Undead, so no one has to worry about that. But there's a really powerful broken combo with the See Undead, so I'm going to use it.
I wonder if any devs might watch and fix it.
No.
Oh no. Okay, so are there any specific roles that you consider ideal as class-specific passives on the mod?
Yeah, so the top roles don't matter at all. All the skills on the See Undead are really good. And seriously, like I always see in the trading Discords, like, I'm looking for a 5 in Donnybrook. That really does not matter at all because it's all gun damage and we have a ton of gun damage. You're really looking for the bottom passives. So like one I like to keep on a lot is shotgun, SMG, and heavy damage, because those are weapons I use a lot, but you just match them to whatever guns you have, or crit damage or splash damage is really, really strong too. So weapon type, splash, or crit.
What artifact do you use?
So for mobbing, I use the Icebreaker Victory Rush. Like I said, we took the skill Brain Freeze, which freezes enemies, and the Icebreaker gives us bonus damage, and the Victory Rush as well. And a big question is, should I use the Pearl of Knowledge? Now, the Pearl of Knowledge gives you 90% bonus gun damage, which is just gun damage. So we already have tons and tons of gun damage. You actually want to use an Icebreaker Victory Rush. It's going to be way better than the Pearl on Zane specifically.
So you said grenades don't really matter? What?
Yeah. I'm not using... So Zane does have a couple grenade skills, but we're actually not using any of them.
Okay.
So the grenade you use actually does not matter because you will never throw it, and we're not using any of the grenade skills. So you can really just equip any grenade with the 50% bonus damage of your choice, wherever you're going. Like if you're going to fight Guardians, you need shock. If you're going to fight COV, you need fire, like just whatever you want. If you're going to the jackpot, take corrosive with you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so what shield do you use?
So right now, I'm actually wearing the Plus Ultra Shield. This is a pretty cool shield from DLC 4.
Okay.
It gives you, I forget if it's 50% bonus health or double the health. And then it can also just roll a couple other passives on it. Like mine has 2 amp rolls on it. So I get amp damage with the shield on. But you can use whatever shield you want. A lot of people actually, you know what I'm going to recommend is the action skill start Frozen Heart or like a Nova Shield, because the Mantis, when it shoots, that counts as action skill start. And you can basically spam Novas with a Frozen Heart or a Nova Burner and just have some fun. Like this build is honestly really powerful. You have some room to just wear your favorite Nova Shield or whatever you want. You know what I mean? A lot of people like the Revengeinator there. Then you can use your grenades.
Still a lot of cryo.
Well, I like freezing enemies because I have brain freeze. So I like the Frozen Heart too. But you don't need cryo at all. You don't need it.
All right. What would be a suitable stopgap until I have the optimal loot needed?
So yeah, like I said, you can use whatever weapons you want for the most part. If you find a usable weapon in Mayhem 10, I think we all know what I mean by that. Like Mayhem 6 weapons, takedown weapons, DLC weapons, the Hellwalker, a good old Hell Shock. Like all those guns are good for endgame content. You're really just looking for like next to magazine anointments. And like I said, the most powerful weapon is the Redistributor. The second most powerful mobbing weapon is the Reflux. And then you have the Brainstormer. For bossing, I think the Light Show is actually might be the strongest. But, you know, these skill trees are still new. So give me a little leeway here. But other than that, like a Backburner, a Plague Bearer, a Scourge with a Splash Anointment honestly should do well in this build. And the new skill tree is awesome. That's what I have to say about the loot.
Great, thank you. What Guardian rank talents should players focus on to get the most bonus stats for this build?
So normally I would actually say topped off because it gives you cooldown rate when you have full shields. But because of commitment giving us tons of full shields all the time, I think I'm actually going to recommend an interesting Guardian rank skill called Hollow Point, which is in the Enforcer tree.
Yeah.
It is the 6th skill. Killing an enemy with a critical hit causes an explosion around them. Basically, if you crit an enemy to kill them, whether it's with your Mantis cannon or your guns themselves, it creates this explosion and it actually does a lot of damage to mobs. And this also gets mayhem scaling, which is really cool and interesting. So if you get a crit kill on an enemy, it's going to explode and like you can kill circles of mobs. Like, you know how they all spawn in the Guardian takedown at once?
Yeah.
If you kill one with a crit, it'll actually kill all of them right there.
What?
Yeah. It's a really cool Guardian rank skill.
I'm gonna need to see that happen.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so what Guardian rank talents, if any, should a player disable to use this build?
Luckily, we're not playing any melee builds, so you don't have to disable any of them. You can just use all of them.
All right, great. So when spending a Guardian token, what are the stats players should focus on spending their tokens on?
So like I said, I always used to recommend going for topped off, which is in the green tree. But with all the cooldown rate, I think it just depends on you. You know, if you need more survivability, you definitely want to go down that blue tree, especially with the skill like Too Angry to Die down there. It's so good for Fight for Your Life. It's like consecutive hits for Fight for Your Life. It's that good. And then if you don't have any issues with survivability, then just go down the Enforcer tree because you're going to get Hollow Point, you're going to get Cook a Combo, you're going to get Overkill, which is insane. I think it just depends on you.
What about the bonus stats?
For the bonus stats, I mean, personally, I don't think they really matter. Avoid luck. Okay, luck is a placebo. Don't get luck. But you can go for crit damage, gun damage. Avoid vehicle damage as well.
Yeah.
The stats I don't really pay attention to as much personally.
All right, fair enough. Bounty of Blood introduced 3 new talents to the Guardian rank tree: Groundbreaker, Dead Man Walking, and Lead or Alive. If you had to pick one to focus on getting first for this build, which would it be?
Okay, so I do have to say Lead or Alive is really, really nice. When you enter Fight for Your Life, your guns are reloaded. I definitely notice having that skill on and off, but I'm gonna have to say Groundbreaker because, okay, I mean it's Groundbreaker.
Yeah.
when you chain a bunch of enemies with like the redistributor or the reflux, your next punch is going to do a lot of damage after that. And
Really?
yeah, it's really cool to like chain a bunch of enemies, and then when there's one left, just punch them, and it's like an insta kill with Groundbreaker.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it is actually really cool and fun.
Are there any mayhem modifiers that one should keep an eye out for that will enhance this build?
Everybody's playing Mayhem 11 now, right? With no modifiers.
I mean,
Or should we go back to Mayhem 10?
That's true. That's true. I guess if you're playing Mayhem 11, it won't really matter. What if people are leveling up through the Mayhem levels? What should they disable?
Okay, so when it comes to Mayhem modifiers, generally I always avoided the ones that took away my damage. So there was like the random elemental immunity ones I disliked. It's actually good to play with one of those if there's an element you never use. Like if you never use cryo or if you never use radiation, then just put that Mayhem modifier on because it's not going to affect you.
Right.
But avoid like pain tolerance, avoid not the face, which just takes away your crit damage. The best for Mayhem modifiers I used on Mayhem 10 were the number one was Speed Demon, but the number one actually doesn't matter because they all only help you. The second one was Healy Avenger. The third one was Drone Ranger. And then the fourth one is either Postmortem or Buddy System, whichever one you're willing to play with.
Yeah.
I find everyone always prefers like one or the other, Postmortem or Buddy System.
Does Speed Demon buff Zane?
Yeah, so Speed Demon actually buffs your damage with Violent Momentum. So for Zane, technically, it is the optimal Mayhem modifier. But yeah, once again, it's just preference. Some people actually complain about moving so fast, but I like it. I don't know. Couldn't be me.
Would you rather play Mayhem 10 with Speed Demon or Mayhem 11 without?
I pick Mayhem 11 because the rest of the modifiers I don't like so much. I think it's worth the trade-off of Speed Demon. Now, I realize that I am a Zane player and I have speed skills. Maybe if I go play Moze with no speed skills, then I might want Speed Demon back.
Yeah.
But until then, I'm on Mayhem 11.
All right, cool. How did you test this build?
I tested this build in the truest of takedowns, Maliwan, Guardian, you name it. There was actually a point where when we got to stream the fourth skill trees, I was actually just in the Guardian takedown with under-leveled weapons, just trying to see how many commitment stacks I could get.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just really fun. You can really pick up just any sort of mobbing weapons. It seriously crushes just everything.
What were some of the initial impressions when you first tested this build?
That I just loved it. I'm so happy that I get to play it nonstop now. Seriously, the fourth skill tree for Zane at least is so awesome. I actually didn't even try I didn't try Moses skill tree for so long because I was playing Zane's new skill tree so much. So I think that says a lot in how much like my initial thoughts on it and how much I loved it.
Yeah, I got to play Moses skill tree a little bit. It was really fun, but that's for another video.
Yeah, definitely.
What did the numbers look like compared to similar builds?
Okay, so this is still fresh. So with a grain of salt,
Sure.
This is the most powerful Zane build I have played yet. And it's mainly just the purple tree. The purple tree combined with his other skill trees is the most powerful you're going to be. If you have the purple tree, you should spend at least like 15 points into it. But I really like getting the capstone. I like getting Eraser, which is in the 5th row. Seriously, it's really insane. And I don't know what else I can say besides some of the gameplay will really show you.
No comparison. This is the best Zane build. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
there's no comparison.
Do you feel that there are any changes that Gearbox could make to the game that would further refine this build without making it drastically over or underpowered?
Yeah, actually, there is the Eraser skill, which is really, really cool. The only thing is it doesn't work with the Mantis itself. It would be kind of cool if you could shoot an enemy in the head with a Mantis and it pierces through. But like, that's about it. And I think the capstone too, if you could aim down your sights and the Mantis did a little more damage. But no, seriously, like the skill tree is almost perfect. And like everything I could have ever asked for a 4 skill tree on Zane. Like it actually is.
That's great. Cool.
Yeah, that's really good.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been so cool.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the next time already.
Always a pleasure to have you on. Is there a build that you can take maybe 15 seconds to tease for your next appearance?
Yes. So Mitsu was helping me come up with a name for my next build. I think it's going to focus on using the Mantis cannon for actual damage. So we're going to actually kill enemies with the Mantis cannon. There's a way to do it that we've already figured out, and I can't wait to showcase it for you guys next time.
Ooh, exciting. I can't wait. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on the show. And thank you, ThiccFilA, for being here as well. Thick, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at youtube.com/ThiccFilA, twitter.com/ThiccFilA_, and twitch.tv/ThiccFilA_. Thanks for having me.
Thick with 2 C's.
Yeah,
for all of you listening.
THICC.
And my name is SchviftyFive. You can find me everywhere, SchviftyFive, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all of it. Bringing deceptive amounts of damage to the table with over-the-top flair, Thick's MNTIS Mercenary build adds a new dimension on how to hang as a member of the Zane gang. For showing us how to get the most out of Zane's new tree and shoulder-mounted cannon of death, I once again award you the title of Ultimate Vault Hunter.
Thank you so much. Seriously, it was a pleasure. It was my pleasure.
My pleasure as well. Thank you so much for being here, Thick. Again, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. The much discussed 4th skill trees are out now. Zane's new action skill, Mantis, brings a shoulder-mounted death beam that players are sure to enjoy. Thank you so much for joining us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and SoundCloud. If you'd like more details about this build, you can find a link to more information and the build in the podcast description section. Happy looting to all you Ultimate Vault Hunters out there.